are in this together. Have you heard this phrase before? Go west, young man. It's a phrase, the origin, which is often credited to the American author and newspaper editor Horace Greeley, concerning American expansion westward, related to the manifest destiny. We have a lot of dark spots in our history in America to get to where we're at this morning. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. Manifest destiny is the belief or doctrine held chiefly in the middle or latter part of the 19th century that it was the destiny of the United States to expand its territory over the whole North America and to extend and enhance its political, social, economic, and religious influences. This is, as I read this, it's just wild that could have been the concept. It is the belief that the United States was a chosen land that had been allotted the entire North American continent by God Almighty Himself. Sadly, manifest destiny was used for justification and permission for the genocide of over 60,000 to 100,000 Native Americans. But nonetheless, people went west. What's westward expansion? I'm going to give you a little history lesson before we get into what I'm trying to say. So take some notes because it'll be a test later. Early pioneers extended American settlements to the Mississippi Valley. Later, they settled on the Great Plains and the West Coast. The Oregon Trail was the most traveled trails headed west. It started in Independence, Missouri, and passed through present-day Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Idaho, and Oregon. Approximately 500,000 people made the journey on foot and covered wagons or on horsebacks. Major political and social events inspired many people to make the move west. Rumors of rich farming lands in Oregon, gold in California, and refuge across the country convinced many to take risks of pioneering travel and pursue a better life. However, rumors weren't the only force at work. Some major events helped accelerate the movement. 1803, Jefferson buys the Louisiana Territory. 1820, Mexico begins allowing U.S. citizens to settle Texas. 1846, Brigham Young and the Mormon pioneers leave Illinois and head west. 1848, the California Gold Rush begins. And in 1862, the Homestead Act offers settlers free land. You think about some of the things that we've been through. Maybe you've had some hard times in life and had to make some decisions. But most of these families left friends and family that they probably never see them. And they got into some wild stuff. They got into disease, runaway covered wagons on hillsides, accidental discharge of weapons in hostile encounters. Some of the things I want to learn about them, I'll get to that in a minute, but I want you to watch this clip and look at their faces.
Pioneers moved west for a variety of reasons. Some in search of riches, others simply to escape poverty. Some were fleeing the law, others were fleeing oppression. What they all shared was the ability to dream of something different, something better, and the West represented an opportunity for that dream to become a reality.
These were people that packed everything they had into the back of a wagon and went. And they went on faith in themselves, in their God, in their new country. And they just went out knowing that they could do this.
Well, I think they went west for so many different reasons. But certainly among them would be the belief that you were going to not only have this new life, which you were freer, but you were going to change yourself. You were going to be a new person in the new world. And this dream that you were going to be transformed may have been just a dream, but it certainly motivated a lot of people. And every time they moved west, they were moving to the future and into a new time and leaving the old time behind.
It must have taken an enormous amount of courage, although probably some of them felt that they didn't have anything and so there was nothing to lose as they moved west. And it speaks to the human capacity to take risks and to go forward and to build in spite of all sorts of terrors, real and imagined.
Cautiously, I slipped from under the buffalo hide, got up on my knees and peered over the side of the wagon. There was nothing but land, not a country at all. but the material out of which countries are made. I had the feeling that the world was left behind, and we had got over the edge of it, and were outside man's jurisdiction. Willa Cather.
I think one of the things that I got out of studying this and reading about this was how isolated they became. But one thing they had in common, they had a hope for survival and a better life. And I think as we live in this day and age, in 2026, I think it's the same for us, isn't it? A hope for survival and a better life. And that's what the church does for us. It gives us hope for survival now and forever, actually. And a better life. And that better life comes by how we interact and spend time with each other. Go West, young man, was the challenge of America. So out they came and exchanged the crowded, soot-choked industrial cities back east for the open plains, clear skies, fertile farmland, and can you imagine clean air and clean water? Particularly those early settlers built their cabins on sod huts, smack dab in the middle of their property. Around it, they put a fence. The ownership became the badge of courage of that land. That was their land. Many of them had never owned land before. Words like independence and private property were common table talk as the young were taught to fit for survival. You see that's kind of as they built their cabins or their sod huts, they put it in the middle of their property and not in the corner. From all this emerged a proverb of them living in that condition. Shared joy is a double joy, and shared sorrow is half a sorrow. As they started to build their cabins in the corner so they could be close to people, seasons of the year became more colorful, more hopeful. Farming, harvesting, canning, slaughtering became group projects. Weddings and worship gains, losses, births, and death became shared experiences. Mere existence was exchanged for real living. Those old settlers learned what we seem to have forgotten today. Pulling closer together is better than existing far apart. I think maybe you're wondering how this applies to the church. As you've been to church, gone to church for a long, long time, you have drawn yourself within certain groups, cliques, if you will. Call it if you will. That's not a negative term. And those are the people you know. Those are the people that you hang out with. Those are the people that you go to after church and talk to. But what about all the other people here? I know it's hard to talk to everybody, but that's the point. I think there's some isolationism within the context of the church, and it shouldn't be there. I'm confident that's the whole point of Ecclesiastes 4, 9 and 10 and verse 12. Two can accomplish more than twice as much as one, for the results can be much better. If one falls, the other pulls him up. But if a man falls when he is alone, he's in trouble. And one standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three is even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. A lot of us maybe have come from pioneer stock, if you will. And the myth of rugged individualism dies a hard and bitter death. Our credo says this: I can handle it on my own, thank you. I'll tough it out somehow. I don't need to lean on anyone. I'll just hole up and lick my wounds. No one really cares anyway. Does any of you think that? How easy it is to ask for help. If you've got a spiritual problem, how easy it is to go to your brothers and sister and ask for prayer and somebody to share your heart with. I don't think a lot of us do that. I have to believe that today, and I'm sorry, but I do. I think we're such individuals that we really don't think we need each other. And that may be good Western mythology, but it's rotten biblical theology. Chase the phrase one another through the last half of your New Testament, and you'll see what I mean. There's 59 one another's mentioned. We really do need each other, more profoundly and desperately than we ever realize. Actually, As a matter of fact, we were given to one another by the Lord of the body, because each one of us has a unique something to contribute, a piece of the divine puzzle that no one else can contribute. We each are gifted to complete this body that we call Moriah. On page 918, Ephesians chapter 4, I think it's hard for all of us to grasp that. That we come and we sit and we worship, and a lot of you are involved in ministry. But the fact is, the Scriptures want everybody to be involved in ministry. Because every follower of Christ, when they bend their knee to Christ and accept Him in their heart, is given a gift. And all those gifts makes the church function properly. It's like a motor with all the pistons and timing. It makes the car run. Think about this for a minute. I say that, of course, I'm older. I repeat myself all the time. But in this room this morning, there is an aura of potential that hangs over you guys because you're all gifted. Can you imagine if everybody in the church, everybody, just did one thing for God this week? Just one thing. What a difference that will make in this world. Ephesians 4 describes it. Now these are the gifts Christ gave to the church: the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, and the pastors, and the teachers. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do His work and build up the church, the body of Christ. That's on the leadership. That's on the pastors. It's on the board. It's all the people that have called to teach. That's our responsibility, and maybe we haven't done so good some days. This will continue until we all come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of God's Son that we will be mature in the Lord, measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. And what's the benefits of that? Then we will no longer be immature like children. We won't be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. We will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever they sound like the truth. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of His body, the church. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. As each part does its own special work. Every one of you here this morning, you have a part. We're each gifted, and all our gifts complete the body of the church, this family that we call Moriah. We are in this together. Earlier follower of Christ set the example for us to follow here in 2026 and years beyond until Christ returns, Acts 2:44 and 45. We think about the Church of Acts being all the way back, and this verse, or these next two verses, almost sound foreign to us. And all the believers met together. This is Acts 2:44, 45. And all the believers met together constantly and shared everything they had. They sold their possessions and shared the proceeds with those in need. They spent a lot of time together and helped one another in many ways. Acts 4:32. All the believers were of one heart and mind, and they felt that what they owned was not their own. They shared everything they had. They did life together every day. And in our busy lives, it's almost impossible for us, is it not? But we should make some kind of way to do that. You go back to those diagrams that you showed, the cabin's clear in the middle, and then they moved them in the corners. They got closer to each other, and it improves their life, is what it did. Where's your sod hut? As you think about your life in Christ, your family, where'd you build your hut? Out in the middle of some lonely windswept acres? How long has it been since you did some significant open-hearted people with those in this body and get to know them? I know I sound like a broken record, but I think a lot of us, we are isolated, and we are so busy in life that we don't take time to get to know each other. I had a great conversation with Josh the other night, and I learned some things about him. I probably won't share them, Josh, up here, but nonetheless, he met his wife by changing her tire. I thought that was pretty cool. But anyhow, I don't know. I just feel that sometimes that we don't get to know each other like we should, and I think it's really imperative that we do that. I can't tell you what your life is going to be until God calls you home, but some of you is going to have some crisis. Probably all of us will to a degree, and man, that's when you need the church. I just thought about this a lot of times with when we used to see Opal in the nursing home. There were people in there that never had a visitor. I think the church should do stuff like that. I think if you know people that's isolated or whatever, even if you just go in and pray with them or ask how they're doing or whatever, and there's going to be times in your life where you're going to need people. And you need to open that gate. You don't need to keep them like this, like we do sometimes. That's the point. I guess that's dear to my heart. So I really believe the answer is small groups. It's in Bible studies. It's a Sunday school class. While you attend church every week, it's good for you both spiritually and physically. But it shouldn't be your only interaction with other believers on a weekly basis. Christianity is best experienced in community, and 1 hour a week certainly isn't enough. Being part of a small group has tremendous benefits for the Christian experience, where you get to experience God with other believers outside the context of right here. I don't know how many people, like when we dismissed, I don't know how many people you'll talk to. But even in mega churches, they said that on any given Sunday, one believer would probably either speak or only talk to about 40 or 50 people. And there's more than that in here this morning, but nonetheless, that's just kind of some of the stuff that I've read. Here's 7 reasons why you should join a small group if you're not in one. Number 1, in a small group you are noticed, makes you part of a tighter community of friends. Number 2, small groups give you an extended family, brothers and sisters, and family is priceless. Small groups allow you to search and ask questions that you can't ask on Sunday morning. It's like it's probably this morning. You say, what's the deal with him talking about settlers? You know, you won't be able to ask me that. Even if you did, I wouldn't answer you. I'd just walk away from you. Not really. I'm just messing with you. People wonder how this mind works, and I don't know some days, but nonetheless. 4, small groups provide advice and support. They care about you. You get support in answering life questions. So a lot of us, especially us older ones that's got whiter hair, we've been down the road a lot farther. We've had experienced death. We've experienced accident. We've experienced disease. And people that's going through that younger, you'll be able to relate to that. You know, well, I'm not the only one that's been down that road. Number 5, small groups improve your communication skills and critical thinking abilities. It's a chance to evaluate and discuss challenging concepts. Number 6, small groups improve your attitude. You experience love and acceptance, which helps give you a positive attitude. And then 7, ultimately, small groups help the church grow. Learning about God and His Word is best done in community. We learned that in discipleship, deep discipleship. So if you're in a small group and at present, please pray about and consider joining if you're not in a small group. Joining or starting one. Anybody can lead a small group. You don't have to have a degree. So that's my prayer this morning as this church, as Moriah, that we all are all one heart and mind. A heart that's given to Christ and a mind that's focused on Him and growth and each other. Remember, you and I are in this experience called life together, and I hope you realize how much we need each other and not to isolate yourself. I'm going to ask Josh Stowers to come forward. He is going to give a testimony about what it means to be in a small group. Josh? This mic over here. Here.
Just grab that yellow one and press the button all over.
See if it works.
It works. I think it's on. I'm going to steal this for a second. I had to have some notes in case I just got up here and blanked out completely. Do you guys have a microphone that doesn't shake so bad? Or this one's a little shaky. I'm not sure. Pastor Eddie asked if I would be willing to share a little bit about deep discipleship. He asked if I'd share a short testimony. He didn't say the word short. I kind of added that part in to make myself feel better. But deep discipleship, it was, I guess the heart of the class was to learn more about what God has done and be more comfortable to share that with other people. So I think coming up here when it's a little uncomfortable is kind of a testimony in itself that worked. But it was a 24-week class that over, with breaks and holidays, took several months to get through. We learned a whole lot from that group. April and I were both able to be a part of it, which was such a blessing to us. If you have a chance to go through a class like that with your spouse, if you're married, that is something that's pretty special. I think any relationship is strengthened if God's at the center of it, and that's certainly the case with a marriage.